Deposit Podcast. I'm Dr. Sam, and with me is Dr. Robert. How are you?
Hey Sam, how you doing today?
Good, doing really, really well. Day off, so I'm getting stuff done, but it's not the end of the day like it usually is. So I actually have some energy. I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Good. Are the kids back in school now?
They are back in school, so it's very weird because my house is like really quiet right now. And we just had people visiting. Like my parents were in town, my sister was in town, so it's like our house has been very full for the last week, and then everybody just kind of left today, and I was like, it's really quiet now.
That's funny. It's,
Yeah.
it's an awkward thing. Like my brother's house is like that too. I went to visit him once, and like they don't have any pets.
Oh,
And by the way, he needs to get on that to be a part of my myBalto team. Just
yeah,
as a,
exactly. How can he have no
I
pets?
know. He says when he moves to Atlanta, which happened this weekend, he will get that, which is good. So just wait for the move, which I understand. But
Yeah.
it's just I slept there one night and it was just quiet. There's no like toes tapping the hardwood floor. There's no like, just did nothing. There's no barking, no nothing. I was like, you guys need to get an animal because it's just creepily quiet in your house right
You're
now.
like,
And
there's something really wrong. I have nothing, no creature to take care of here. I need to.
that it's a weird spot. Like, you need some noise in here, something. Get a small child or a dog, get something. So,
Or both.
like,
Why not?
or both. That's my mom's wishes.
I was gonna say, I really feel like I know a lady that really might be wanting that to happen.
God, I hope she listens to this podcast at some point. So,
I'm on your side, Mommy Parkins.
oh, God. Hot and lighter. What are we talking about today?
Well, so what we're gonna talk about today is something that is a real problem in veterinary medicine, and that is burnout. And we're not just talking about burnout from the veterinarians, but then also the rest of the support staff and what that looks like and why it happens. Because I do think that people maybe don't really understand how it is that we can play with puppies and kittens all day and get burned out. So,
That's not a really good way of putting it.
well, and I think one thing, if you've been a regular listen to the podcast, then you know that's not really what we do all day, and there is quite a lot more to it. But I still think that people don't realize what an issue mental health is, and maybe we can shed some light on what that looks like for veterinarians. So what have you seen with that, and what do you feel like your threshold is? Do you feel like you're close to it? Have you ever kind of questioned where you were at? What's your thoughts on that?
A little bit of yes to everything, to be honest with you. Just from like across the profession, just because I haven't known it for like when we're talking about myBalto and stuff like that. Like compassion fatigue is a big part of what our veterinarians and veterinary staff go through all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You only about like a 30% burnout rate in our technicians, which
That's
means that
huge, by the way. We don't have enough technicians to begin with.
and that's exactly what it is. Like if they don't get paid enough, it's difficult. So like difficult working conditions, or long hours, sometimes thankless hours, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it results in like 30% of them leaving the field for other industries. Usually nursing, human nursing, just because at least it compensates a little better sometimes. But even then, veterinarians are about 20% themselves. So that's a pretty decent percentage of people that are leaving the industry because they love what they do, but they are just tired. And I think that's honestly the best way I can describe it. You're just tired at the end of the day, whether it's just seeing, for me, honestly, I started experiencing burnout probably for the first time this year,
Yeah.
where I was
Do you
tired and
think
I was
it's the
like,
hours you were working, the time you were working, or the kind of cases or caseload that you were expected to take care of?
I think honestly this is no fault to my hospital. So I'll be very clear about that. Like it's a lip sync. It's not anything to do with them. It's more just our hospital is a very challenging hospital. I think both hospitals are too. We have some intense clientele. We have some intense cases. I feel like I need to always be on my game, like 100% when I'm there. And I think 12 shifts a month is what I do for ER, which may not
Mm-hmm.
seem like a lot, but when they're 14-hour shifts, they kind of drag over. I think the lack of sleep and combination of just difficult cases started hitting me a little harder this year. Um,
Yeah, well, and especially working nights. I mean, I think that just physiologically, a lot of people who do that really struggle with health, wellness. How do you get on any sort of a schedule? Because either then you're up all night all the time, or you're only up all night for your specific shift, and then you have to shift back, and then you got, and that's not really. I mean, I can't. It must take days back on a good schedule.
Yeah, I'll say I'm really looking forward to this next 6 to 8 months of my life where I'll be doing a couple less overnights because I'm focusing on more on my myBalto and just see what a normal sleep schedule looks like because I don't have one. I don't know what that looks like, honestly, for the
Mm-hmm.
last 7 years. So I think, and of course, I have a great support system such as yourself. Like we could talk every Wednesday, or
Yep.
Thursday days. My family's been great. And the people I work with are fantastic. And I think that's a big part of what keeps you in the profession.
Yeah,
I
for
love my
sure.
coworkers and they make it worth it. The pets do too, but that's where you find the most bonding. It's like what's it called? It's like Stockholm syndrome. You go to, you
Yeah.
know, it's not healthy for you, but you stay anyway because you just love the people and it's a part of it. But I'd love to. What about your side of things? So obviously, you may not be ER, but there's competitive fatigue in every part of veterinary medicine, not just ER.
Yeah, I think a big part of where compassion fatigue comes from in veterinary medicine, my guess would be the fact that you have a whole bunch of just like overachievers that are going into veterinary medicine. That is not just, I don't mean just the veterinarians, I mean the technicians, um, the support staff. We all have a role to play. And I think it is a very, very multifaceted reason why it happens. One, you're right. Our days are long and you're on from the second you get there until the second you leave. And I mean, there are like kind of jokes about like, oh, well, if I get lunch today or if I, you know what I mean? Things like that where you're like, that's just a basic, like you sometimes just need a minute to like, I don't know, eat and sit for a second. I mean, there are days where like, I don't know if I went to the bathroom today. I'm not
But
sure that I did. I definitely didn't sit at my desk all day. I definitely know that I'm going to go back to a mountain of paperwork
mhm,
and I'm just going to be, I mean, I'm not done with work when I leave work. That never happens. And maybe part of it is my own fault. Like maybe I could be more efficient. Um, but it's because I also will take the time to, if I have a minute, instead of writing my records, I'm like, well, let me look this thing up or let me call this person and make sure that I'm doing everything I can for this one case that I have. Or, and it is very hard to try to kind of be everything to everyone. You have to be a good surgeon. You have to, know your internal medicine. You have to know what's current. And then
yeah,
sometimes you're even having to make choices that are like, okay, well, they don't have any money, so uh I'm gonna have to make the best thought based on, you know what I mean? And then you start to like beat yourself up because you can't do everything and you can't be perfect, you can't control everything, and
yeah.
PS you didn't sleep last night, and you know what I mean, or you're missing something for one of your kids, or you know what I mean, something like that. And then I mean, it is hard. I don't think it's just one thing. Obviously, where it gets a lot harder is if you never get to leave work at work. So where
Like,
I've had those times where I felt the most burnt out is when I've been so busy at work that I haven't gotten any of my paperwork done. So then I come home and I just spend what time I have with my kids before they go to sleep, and then once they're asleep, I spend another 3 hours doing the paperwork that I didn't get done at work, just to wake up and do the same thing the next day and most likely get behind again and still not get all that paperwork done. So it's like this sort
yeah.
of vicious cycle that you get into where you just feel like I just need a break. Like I just need 5 minutes where I'm not worried about a case or worried about this dog or feeling like I didn't get all my work done.
I mean,
Um, that's probably my biggest struggle. I think if I could like leave work at work, both emotionally and physically, I probably would have a little bit better of a balance. I think that would be my hardest thing.
and I think you bring up a really good point there because I think that's what a lot of veterinarians, myself included, all struggle with leaving work at work because you can't because you have to call with blood work later on. Like when the blood work comes back and you like call about it, you're stuck late doing records or do the next morning, but you want to spend time with your kids, so it takes away from your significant other potentially. So you have to take the time from somewhere,
Yep.
and it's even our coworkers. I love my coworkers, but sometimes all we talk about is also veterinary medicine.
Right.
It's kind of like you're just getting bombarded with it all the time. And I used to make a joke with my old intern director. Like when I was younger, I just came out of vet school and in my internship, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll go to the bar and I'll tell girls I'm a veterinarian. They'll love that." She's like, "No, you won't." She's like, "You'll stop talking about it within the first week because it's just like you'll see veterinary medicine all the time. You'll tell them
Yeah.
you're an accountant
Yeah.
because you don't want to like deal with it anymore. And she's right. Like literally within the first couple of weeks, I was like, no, I'm in sales.
Oh yeah.
Like we don't talk about. So it's just funny how it just becomes it's everything that we do,
Yep.
and it's overwhelming sometimes. There's no
Yeah.
break from it.
Well, and I do think some of the other things that happen is like, do you like ever have people reach out to you with like, oh hey, I haven't talked to you in however many years, but here's a picture of my dog, and it's like, I mean, I want to be helpful, and I really, I am very, I try to be very generous with my time, but I also have 3 kids and a husband, and I would like to actually spend time with them. And I can tell you that I've had people knock on my door and be like, "Hey, I think my cat's blocked. Can you come over to my house and see if my cat's blocked?" And it's like, I mean, I can, but I also can't do anything about it at home.
It's
Like,
just,
all
but
I'm going to
about
do is tell you to go to the emergency clinic. And I probably could tell you that just from what you're telling me. I don't even need to know that your cat is trying to go in the litter box, nothing's coming out, and it's crying. Guess what? You have to go to the emergency room. But then you feel bad. Okay, fine, I'll come by, whatever.
you do it every
And
time.
what?
So you do it every time.
Yeah,
That's
oh
what
yeah, absolutely. And then even like I had one time like a neighbor who really nice, I wouldn't necessarily say that we were friends, but we were neighborly. But
that.
I mean, and I became their veterinarian, which again is fine, but then it's kind of like, gosh, if anything ever happens, I mean, I live next door to them, you know what I mean? And so it's like just a little piece of like you is kind of terrified, which of course you're always worried, you always want a good outcome, but I mean, that's like your backyard, literally. And they had brought their dog in, and like it had vaccines, and I was putting my kids to bed, and they're not banging on my door. And I was like,
Jesus.
and I was like, is everything okay? And they're like, well, my dog is sore. I'm like, yeah, they had a vaccine. I mean, like, you have my phone number, text me. I'm putting my babies to bed. Like, you need to have some boundaries, but of course I'm too nice to say that. You know what I mean? I'm
Oh,
saying
no.
now.
Dude,
If they're
yes.
listening, they
Oh,
probably like,
yeah.
that was me. But then at the same token, I mean, I have friends that are legitimate friends of mine that will ask my opinion on something, and that doesn't bother me at all. And if I offer to
Yeah.
help or drop off meds or do something like that, I mean, that's fine. I'm not saying that I would not do that for people. And like, my whole family are doctors, so like I'll call them about things, and my sister calls me or my parents call me about, that's a little bit different. That's family, that's friends. But acquaintances or people you haven't talked to since high school reaching out, sometimes that gets a little tiresome.
I would agree 100%. I think the worst one I've had was so, I go through periods of being single and the dating apps. And I've literally had people swipe right and send me a message and be like, oh, by the way, I have a question about my dog. I'm like, that's not what I'm here for.
You're like, well, this automatically made this easy.
That's
Bye.
like, I'm like, and honestly, a few members respond, I'm like, hey, should I go see your vet? Like, I've been like, hey, sounds
Yeah.
like it's important, but like, it's not the reason I'm on this particular app. So I was like, you know, but it
It's
definitely,
also not appropriate. And it's one thing to ask the question, but when you say, yeah, I mean, in general, this is what I would do, but really they need to go see their vet. And then they keep pushing, because that's the other thing is a lot of times they don't take a hint. And it's like, it's not appropriate for me to be the person telling you what to do right now because I've never met your dog. I
yeah,
barely know you.
I think that comes into like, we gain so much from doing a physical exam. Like it's
Yep.
so important. So like a lot of times just telling us something, and we can get a pretty good idea of what's going on, but like until we touch your pet, maybe listen to them with our stethoscope, that's where we can make a true decision about what your pet needs next.
Oh yeah.
How serious it really is. Because we can feel their pulses, we know their heart rate, we can see if they're breathing hard, if they're painful. That's something that most owners are gonna miss, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the biggest differences. So like whenever we do get those messages, you're right. It always ends up being, hey, why don't you follow the regular vet because I can't tell you much from not doing an exam.
Right, right. Or you'll see those things. It's like, well, does anyone know a vet that's not, a gazillion dollars because they're all, and you're just like, okay, I mean, we're all really trying to do our best. And you know what I mean? Like we all went to school, we're doctors, we took the time, and I don't know. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it gets a little exhausting when you get that sort of like, okay, I'm not just trying to fleece you for your money, I promise.
And it's another reason to get myBalto because you can
Yes.
buy things you buy anyway and earn points for it towards your future vet bills, so you don't have to worry about those conversations. It's a win-win for everybody. So
Yes.
download the app today. That's the only plug I do. I'll do, I promise. But I mean, the sled, I think it's one of the big issues. Personal boundaries for ourselves and owners themselves. I think is a big part of it. But how much? What are some of the other things you think contribute to compassion fatigue in our industry?
I think so again, like gosh, it's like multifocal because it's like, so the owners, depending on what they expect from you and how they talk to you about it.
Yeah,
Because again, like I will bend over backwards for pretty much anybody. I will do absolutely everything that I possibly can. But you also have to, if you call and you're like, I need a refill for my dog, and you forgot to call and
same.
you need it ASAP, don't yell at us and our staff because you didn't plan. It's the
Facts.
same thing with like, emergencies and things like that. It's amazing to me how often people, and I think we talked a little bit about some of these things on a different podcast when we're talking about can you get fired. I think a lot of our issues with being veterinarians, like where you start to just get exhausted with it, is how you're treated by owners. And I have had some owners just be very, very nasty,
Yeah,
and not actually nasty to me, but nasty to the girls up front who are just trying to help them and ask questions. And then I also have had people that are like, well, I'll only talk to the doctor. I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want to give you any information. I will only talk to the doctor. And what they don't realize at that point is it's going to take them so much longer to hear back from me because it has to be a minute where I have time to call somebody. Number one. Number two, it might be a question that could be very easily answered by one of the girls, or one of the techs or one of the assistants, and by like saying like I will only talk to the doctor, you really just alienated my whole team. So you
yep.
kind of in turn just alienated me. And now I had one time had that happen, and they just wanted to ask me what heartworm preventative I thought they should be on.
Oh yeah.
Why do they need me to call?
Like honestly, I think that's a really good point. Like our technicians, that's one of the big reasons like there's a high burnout because of, like for what they're doing because they get treated
Oh,
like
horribly,
honestly, they get treated horribly. From
horribly by some people,
yeah, and not
and
all
so
are
on and so forth. It's not just them; it's the girls who answer the phone
exactly.
and the veterinary assistants.
Yep, it's literally everyone gets treated so poorly, and it's tough. And honestly, be able to I don't know. You just feel bad at the end of the day, like how poorly they're treated. That's why they're leaving. Honestly, I don't like. I mean, there's other things to go into, but that's a big part of it. And honestly, when they go up front to try and ask you what's going on, most of the time they're gonna send you away. If they can answer for you, they're gonna send you away without charging you for it. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
like
And
take
they
that.
usually have great information. I mean, these girls are smart. They are educated. They know. They've heard us talk about it a million times. So
Yep.
why not get your answer? And if it's something they don't know, they have no ego about it. They'll come and say, I don't know. Let me go ask the doctor.
Yeah. But how many? I can honestly tell you, like the number of pets each week that my texts have turned away because it's like an easy answer.
Yeah.
Give the owner literally $170 for our exam fee
Yep.
just because like, oh, I can answer this for you, and they're like, oh, great. But the owners that didn't do that, like, I only want to talk to the doctor, or they don't like, oh, it's all in the record or something like that. Those are the ones I charged $170. Like, oh, my tech could have told you this. And I'm like, well, do I still get charged? I'm like, well, yeah, now you get charged because you're talking to me. Like,
You're
they were
like, I
trying to say,
walked in, have to write a record, and I did an exam. So yes, you get charged.
yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, like, that's, I want to be nice, but at the same time, like, is this time taken away from another patient? That you're trying to save you time, but you're being stubborn and not wanting to talk to someone who's very knowledgeable what they do. So if they're trying to send you away or they're trying to talk to you, answer the questions. They're so nice. They're
Yeah.
such so
Well, and also to just remember that these are people who are doing their best. And we all have bad days. I get that. There are days where I probably could have been kinder to somebody, or you know what I mean? Like, but I usually try to always be respectful when I'm calling. If I need to get my child into the pediatrician, I mean, it's amazing to me. We had somebody that called the other day and wanted to come in, and they were mad that we were going to get them in by 10 o'clock. I mean, they called that day, and that was like not good enough. And it was like, I mean, we have appointments. We're literally finding time to get you in to help you out because you just told us that you found out at 8 o'clock this morning that there was a problem. Well, there is an emergency clinic. If that's not good enough,
Yep.
go there. That's fine. But we're trying to do what we can for you. We didn't say 4. We said 10.
Well, no.
And but then you have these lovely people who are so appreciative with anything that you do. But for whatever reason, I think there is something about human nature where we tend, the ones where people are cruel tend to eat away at us and tend to stick there, in your mind a little bit more, which
Yeah,
may not be fair, but it's true.
no, it's psychologically it's true because I think there's a saying that is that like one negative, someone saying something negative about you, like you need to say like 6 or 7 positive things to almost like get over that. And the same way, like you have like, so it means like every time there's someone who's not very happy at the clinic that says something rude, it means we need 6 or 7 clients to have a really great experience to make our day better.
Just
And
to
we
be
don't.
neutral, just to be back at the beginning again.
So yeah, there's psychology that's 100% like that's on point, and so let's keep that in mind. I don't want to overshadow. I think you mentioned too. There are some lovely owners. They make our
Oh my
days.
gosh, wonderful people.
But just a couple bad apples here and there that make it a little sour.
Yeah. And then I think ultimately at the end of the day, really one of the biggest things is we became veterinarians because we want to be able to help animals. And we get those cases where, despite everything we did, I mean, we just did a whole podcast about adverse outcomes where I think we spoke very logically about, the fact that like we're not God, we can't control everything. We don't always have the answers. And sometimes we don't get the answers in time. And there will be bad outcomes no matter what you do, even if you do everything right, let alone those times where you make a mistake and you're not perfect. Nobody is. And then you take our personalities, we're all somewhat perfectionist type A personalities that go into this. So then you really beat yourself up. And I have a very hard time if something doesn't go the way I want it to, getting over it, for sure.
Yeah. Those I agree. Those are the ones that stick with you, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like even from I remember 3 or 4 bad cases right now. I'm having a hard time remembering one good case. And I have good cases, I know I do.
Right.
But the bad ones will stick with you. They just do, and they're the ones you feel bad about. And we didn't get into this for the money as much as people bring it up. Like that's not. I think that's probably part of that conversation. It's like we don't want to let you down. I think we're letting down 2 people at the same time, or 2 things. Like I should say, like we're letting the owner down, and we're letting the pet down. I think that's the tough part of it. It's kind of a double whammy. Kind of sucks. Like when you really something doesn't go well, you feel like you're fighting both of them, and that's not our job is to help. So it's tougher.
It is. And also too, I mean, you do really have to be on all day. And there are just some days where you're just tired. You just, you don't it's hard to pull yourself up and be a fresh new person to every person that comes in the room. And there are just some days where that comes very easily and it's like, oh, this is a great day and it's going to flow and we're going to be good. And it's funny because even those days, even the things that go wrong, you're like, oh, this is no big deal. But then there's other days where just writing a record is like physically painful. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. It's like the last thing I want to do right now is write more records, and then like it's like personalize it in the middle of it. Like this, just like any other person's job, like whether they're a grocer or whether they're at a bank.
Yeah,
they have bad days too, and I think we all forget that from time to time where we're just maybe shorter with someone than we need to be, and then we realize they got a personal.
I'm just having a bad day, and I think it's hard too when you have like certain types of high pressure jobs. You feel like you're almost not entitled to a bad day because you can't let a bad outcome happen because of your bad day.
Like,
and I would say that they usually don't, right? I mean, like that's not, you can have a bad day and everything still goes right, but you just had a rough day. But I think that I'm lucky, and maybe I think you are too, in the fact that, I have a team that if I need to take a day off, if I need a vacation, if I need, the way that we've kind of set up our practice is like, we don't really like, we can pretty much kind of have a bit of a balance. And the owner of my clinic's actually very kind when it comes to like, family things and stuff like that, which to me is so important because I really do want to be there and be present for my kids and
Like,
Paul and like everything else. So to me, like that's such an important thing. And if I've had any of like health issues and stuff like that, I've been able to take time off and not have anybody trying to like force me to come back before I was physically supposed to be back.
yeah,
And certainly I can take vacations and stuff like that. But I think in some places people are so busy or they have so much debt or they have whatever thing that is keeping them from being able to take, like when you start to get those days stringing together where you're like, I don't have anything else to give. I am so tired. I'm starting to not even care because I'm so tired. I can't care anymore. You need to be able to take a break at that point. You need to be able to take a vacation. But there are
I,
some veterinarians that don't get to do that. And that is very dangerous, I think.
yeah. And I think one of the reasons we bring all this up, which is kind of the scarier part of all this, is that veterinarians, maybe not number one anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
we're one of the top 5 professions that highest suicide rates in the country.
Yeah.
I think Balto is another profession that's on top of it, but it's not an award anyone wants to win.
No, 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 for sure not.
All this compassion fatigue and all this kind of continued burnout and not taking those breaks, like you mentioned, when you need to. Unfortunately, is a huge contributor to that. That's why there's a great organization called Not One More Vet that helps with mental illness and veterinarians and trying to help
Right.
prevent. And it stands for they don't want to see any more vets commit suicide for the impacts the profession. So really a great organization. I encourage you to check
Yeah.
them out. It's worth them if you get a chance. I think what they do is great and it's really a benefit to the profession. But I think our teams go a long way to really helping us out. Like even my technician, I had a really bad case a couple weeks ago. The next day, she showed up at work with a little letter and a gift bag and an entire half gallon of Don Julio tequila, which great. And I was like, probably not helping to the whole mental illness, but also,
You're like, not sure I should drink this one away, but that would make me feel better.
right? But honestly, one of the sweetest gestures, and that came from our team because I just know the impact of those almost cases, and she knew I had a bad day from that day, and truly remarkable. People that we work with, they make it better. So very grateful for that.
Yeah, I can't. I have to say, I think if it wasn't for my technicians, if it wasn't for the girls who like answer the phone and all of our vet assistants and everything, and even the other doctors that I work with, when you have those days where you're like, I can't see this case, like I can't, I'm missing something. I need to bounce this idea. And even like, hey, I call you. I I have a chocolate toxicity and I did XYZ thing. What am I forgetting? And nothing. You're not forgetting anything. Or yes, you forgot a major thing. You need to go check this. Or whatever it is. But it is nice to have friends
Yeah,
that you can call, and it's nice to have a team that you can rely on. And I mean, I love the people I work with. I will tell you that I am so thankful and grateful for them every day. It is a whole family like kind of atmosphere. We all really support each other, and I genuinely enjoy spending time with them. And that is, I feel very, very fortunate about that. And I think that that's one of my biggest reasons for being able to stay and find something that I love every day. That is the thing that helps with burnout. And then coming home and being able to just have those times where I'm like, I had a really rough day. And Paul's like, that sucks, tell me about it. You know what I mean? And being able to have somebody that you can just be like, man, this really, or my sister who gets it because she's a human doctor and they have the same issue. And so I'll be like, you ever have those days? And she's like, yes, I have had those days. And those clients and those patients and everything else, and then you feel heard and then you can let it go a little bit better.
yeah, I agree 100%. And I think that's having a good support system is huge. Everybody needs a Paul.
That is true.
So
Everybody does need Paul.
everybody
A
needs a
Paul.
Paul.
And to
But
Robert and to my sister and I need all of you guys. But that's the thing. I mean, it is really I'm really, really, really lucky that that I have the people that I have in my life, or I don't know that I would be able to continue to do what we do. But I really do love what we do, and I feel kind of I feel lucky to be able to help people and help animals every day.
Yeah, me too. I could agree more. It is a very fulfilling professional stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that
But I'm hoping that what we're doing with myBalto, not to also plug that, my hope is though that we can find a way to like lessen some of this burden for people. You
yeah.
know, this part of the compassion fatigue is especially in places where people can't afford things. If we can really take some of that burden away, to me, that is like, I'm hoping that we have a lasting impression, not just on our local communities, but veterinary medicine as a whole. It's a lofty goal, but I feel like we really could do some good, and that to me is, I'm I would feel that would be such a gift if we could do that.
I honestly, I couldn't agree more. I think feel give that it's obviously we're trying very hard to make this work and be successful. And
Yeah.
appreciate everybody that listens to the podcast, everyone who's joined the app. Yeah, it's any of the people that are supporting us at the sidelines right now.
Yeah.
It's we're really proud of what we're doing here, and it can make a huge difference in the profession. So if you know of any veterinary clinics that you're looking to add additional financial support for, or they want to get a charity in their hospital, let us know. You can reach out to us, and we'll reach out to the hospital specifically and just mention here. Or also if you just want to, have questions for us, you can always email.
Podcast at mybalto.com. You can email
Right?
us, and you know, if there's anything else that you guys ever want us to talk about, that's always what we do here. We're, you know, just kind of having a conversation. And I think that kind of sums up well, kind of the whole thing, right?
Nah,
Burnout,
it's
compassion
like
fatigue.
4 hours on compassion fatigue.
Yeah, we probably could. But I think maybe hopefully one day we can maybe even talk to someone from Not One More Vet or something like that, because it's such a great organization. If you're ever looking to support an organization, I don't know if it is something that people can donate to, but they should, because it's great.
No, it is. Actually, I have a contact there, so I will reach out to them, and we'll hopefully try and get them on soon.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. But thank you everybody for listening, letting us kind of talk through our stuff. It actually is really good to do that. It's cathartic. It makes you really grateful for where you are at that moment in time, which I think is probably the best way to go forward in life in a positive way, huh?
Amen. I couldn't say it better myself.
Well, this has been the Pause It Podcast. I'm Dr. Sam. Again, Dr. Robert. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, guys.